Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special webinar. Today, we are talking all about one of the most important teachings of Dr. Pillai. And he has said this is my most important teaching. So what could be more important than every mantra and every teaching that he does about manifestation or karma removal? And that is the influence of your ancestors. And it is such a, I think, almost secret to the world as we know it, that most people aren't tuned in to how much our ancestors are actually influencing our thoughts and our actions. And if we knew even a degree, we'd probably make all kinds of changes in our lives to do what we need to do to appease these ancestors who have passed on in order for them to bless us, in order for us to receive the highest blessing that there is in spirituality. It is really a profound teaching. So today we'll hear from Dr. Pillai. It's a previously recorded video on some questions that I had posed to him about Mahalaya and about the ancestors. And the reason we're having this session now is because the most powerful, most important time of the entire year is coming up, and it starts on this Friday, and it's called Mahalaya. It's Mahalaya Paksha. It is the 14 days of, and Dr. Pillai will talk more about this, when the ancestors are more accessible to us. We have, it's like, that barrier between the earth plane and the realm that they are in, their spirit is in, becomes closer together so that we have a deeper, we can reach out to them more easily, make offerings to them, and have their existence in the other planes go to a higher place so that they would then bless us. And I will also give you a technique on how to perform Tarpanam. So I'll also review the kind of done for you expert remedies that get done in India for this whole period of time. I personally do both at home, as well as, relying on the experts to do it for me as well. So we'll be giving you all of that. So a 10-minute video from Dr. Pillai, a technique on how to perform Tarpanam at home, and then the rituals and remedies that can be done for you in India if you'd like to participate, which are extremely important, I believe, for our spiritual growth. So let's get right into Dr. Pillai's video, and we'll be right back after that. Oops. Okay.
So one of the intriguing questions for everyone, whether you are a religious person or a scientist who doesn't believe in religion, or anyone, for that matter, who is a human being, is intrigued by one question. Why is it that someone is born in Bill Gates' family, who has been the richest man of the world for 16 times, and why somebody is born in Africa and then doesn't even have water to drink and then die? So congenitally, you see there is some inequality. So that questions all our democratic, socialistic systems, for which you don't have, all of them cannot answer this question, why there is congenital inequality. There is only one answer to this, and that is soul genetics, which I just coined the term and introduced it a decade ago, which is repackaging and contemporizing the ancient concept of Tarpanam.
You've told us that the ancestors come on the new moon. So what is the significance of the new moon? Why do they come on this day every month? And what's special about the Mahalaya, this particular new moon coming up this week?
Now the moon affects the human body and the mind also. This is science too. When it is full moon, you know that people who are mentally disturbed, they are connected by the souls. So they behave, quite, their illness, shows up dramatically during the time of the full moon. And during the new moon, the opposite happens. The mind becomes so quiet, not agitated. And the lunacy is very important, because they somehow knew that the moon is connected to our mind and the brain and the entire body itself, because the body is 3/4 water, and then the moon responds. The water and the moon have a special connection. If you go to the ocean, you can see the water on a new moon. Full moon is, uptide water. So that's the science part of it. So the moon and the soul, the mind, the brain, the body, they are all connected. So if you miss this is a good question. If you miss this Mahalaya period for whatever reason, it's not, you can catch up during the next full moon. So every full moon, you have the opportunity for connecting with the ancestors. So that's why I encourage people that you have to do at least the simple Tarpanam that you can yourself do, just do it in your bathroom. Or if you want an expert to do it, then you can do that too, okay? So new moon is the time that your soul can connect with the ancestor's soul, or to go by what the tradition says, they come down to your house and knock the door, okay? They are asking for food, and if you give them food, especially this particular food, and then they are happy. And then they are not only happy, their consciousness changes. And then it is a technology to change the consciousness of your ancestors who are suffering in another plane. And by making them happy, then you also impact your own consciousness, your own destiny, your own demerits that are causing a lot of physical problems. So this is why, to answer your question, why the new moon.
Who can we do the ancestor ritual for? So we know that it's direct ancestors, parents, grandparents. We know it's relatives, children that have passed on. But some people ask about friends, associates, things of that nature. And in the past, you said that's maybe not the best, but we want to hear about who specifically can we do these rituals for?
Generally speaking, you can do it to anyone, but the response will be better if you do or to your relatives. A non-relative, or you can do to a non-relative too, okay? Because today I'm going to do the Tarpanam, I'm going to do it for Einstein. Just to say some anecdotal thing that I have been working on him for some time. And so it's very interesting that he needs to kind of go to another plane, because before his death, he said, don't put me on artificial breathing or anything. If I'm, fall down, which he did, just take me to the hospital. If I die, I die. Don't help me. And prior to that, he said something very interesting. Oh my God. I know a lot of secrets about the universe. Gee, I don't have enough mathematical background to put this together in an equation. So what it meant was, he would die, and then he would be born as a mathematician and a physicist, so that he could accomplish what he could not accomplish in that lifetime. And he's a great brain. He's a great brain, And so I'm going to do something to facilitate, so that if he's not still born, then he'll be able to do better. So anyway, I will figure that out. Mm. So you can do it for anyone. It's better to do it to your relatives because the response is good, and also karmically it is right. But you can do it to anyone. As I said, it's called Karunya Tarpanam. Karunya means you are very compassionate towards some friend of yours or an acquaintance of yours who died, and then you wanted to help his or her soul to go through, then you can do that. But there's some karma involved in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good point at the end that Dr. Pillai made, but there is some karma involved in it. So just be careful when you do Tarpanam for anyone other than your family. And he said that the family is where you're basically going to get the most benefit out of the ceremony. So a couple things I want to touch upon. One, I'll do give you an example. Before that, I want to say that what he mentioned about Einstein is significant because it represents what happens to the soul. So as we live a life and have certain activities that we're doing, desires that we have, and then when that life ends, the soul wants to continue on that journey. Your ancestors are doing the same thing. Your soul will do the same thing. And so as they do, that desire that is unfulfilled will be distributed through thought forms to you as well. Now, that could be something good, like I want to thrive to become enlightened, or that's not the case for most people. Most people have more mundane desires, or even desires that aren't conscious and productive, such as addictions. That's still a desire, the desire to drink alcohol, to do drugs, to gamble. Money, food, sex, the things that bind us to the earth plane. Those are the type of desires your ancestors are most likely trying to still fulfill, which is why it is so important that when we do the ceremony, when we do our offering, we make the prayers, we want to invite them to release those worldly desires, release those attachments in order to move up into the heavenly realms. It is only in the heavenly realms that they can then bless us the most with their power. They have so much influence power on us. And if directed in the right way, then we are elevated by their grace. We are elevated by their grace. It is said that even the gods come to the earth plane to worship ancestors in order to receive blessings. It is said that every siddha, that is something that they continue to do. So it's a primary, it's a core foundational teaching that Dr. Pillai has put forward in a very modern way, which is why it's so unique. So I encourage you to please take this on as a daily practice, and to have the rituals done for you in India by the people who have been trained for generations, literally in their blood, to be performing these ceremonies on our behalf, especially during these really heightened power times where the ancestors are even more available. They have certain techniques that they can do to access and kind of speak to these ancestors, the souls of the ancestors, in order for these beings and these souls to be moving on to higher realms. I'll also tell you a story about my experience as well. Before we do that, I'm going to show you how to do the Tarpanam. So pro tip here, I leave my Tarpanam mix in the bathroom, either in a plastic bag like I have right now, or if I'm not traveling and I'm in really like a home base, then I have a nice little container that I put somewhere, and it either has rice flour or whole rice. In this case, I just had whole rice, so that's what I'm using. So I take a pinch, which ends up being about a teaspoon, and I typically have a little spoon in there, and then a coin. So here we have the black sesame seeds, we have rice or rice flour, a coin. If you happen to have tulsi, that's a great thing to add. If you happen to have darba grass, that's a great thing to add. If you don't have any of those things, don't worry about it. This is the basics. So what you'll do is place the items into your right hand, the palm of your right hand, add some water. So hopefully, or typically you could be at a body of water, which is ideal, but that's not always the case. So in your bathroom, whether you're doing it in the shower or you're doing it at the sink, it's ideal to face south. You don't have to, but if you can, wonderful. Place some water so that it becomes just a little bit of water into your palm, and then make your prayer. Now, this is a sincere prayer from your heart. There's no wrong or right way to do it. This is you speaking to your ancestors. What do you want to say to them? In fact, I encourage you, please post your prayer, or what you say in a short form to your ancestors, so that other people can get ideas. I'll tell you what I do, but it's not the end all be all. It is just my personal prayer. So it's wonderful to share that. One time someone said that he was making a prayer, and then he decided to compliment his ancestors and thank them for all the wonderful gifts that they've given to him. That's a beautiful thing to add. So, oh, thank you for the things I do have that I really enjoy in my life that you've given to me. Another person said that, she invites her ancestors to recognize themselves in their light body. Now that they're free from a body, typically the soul, the mind is kind of scrambling to get back to earth to experience things. Well, what if they just stopped and enjoyed the fact that they are free from a body, was aware of that, and experiencing and enjoying their light body? So we learned something from everyone's sharing, so please feel free to post that. So here's my prayer, and I do kind of a quick and easy version of it. Some people say 6 generations, 12 generations, 64 generations. I just say all generations. And when I'm doing more iterations of the Tarpanam, so for example, I might do it 3 times or 9 times, or on really special and powerful new moons, I do 108 times, which is quite a process, and it's very transformational. I'll do like father side and mother side and really focus in on them. But on the daily basis, this is what I do. The water, and I facing south if possible. All the ancestors on my mother's side, all the ancestors on my father's side, please take this offering, receive nourishment from this offering. Allow yourself to be unattached from all of your worldly desires. Release your desires for money, food, sex, gambling, and you can say whatever else. Release your worldly desires and attachments and move up into the light. As you move into the light, please bless me and my family. And then rinse it, and you're done. You want to rinse this with water And be careful. Be careful for putting it in your drain. You can use like a little drain strainer, or put it into a different bowl, throw it outside, or into the garbage. So those are ways that you discard it. Now, if you are at a body of water, a lake, a stream, the ocean, oh, that's just perfect. Then you can release it right into that body of water, and that's ideal. So I've been to India in the, Kerala, in this main temple and river where Tarpanam is being performed every day. And it's you go and dip your whole body, and then you come up and you do this right as sunrise. And it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I've also, just being in the United States, I've gone to the beach, I've gone to a lake. And I've done 108 offerings. That is when you really want to go kind of more extreme. And it's interesting because what will happen is that happened to me anyway, I started getting messages from them, what types of things they wanted me to pray for them to be released from. And I started getting images and messages, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just very interesting to see these souls and how they are struggling to move on. They are struggling with the karma that they faced, and now that karma is being passed on to us. So karmically, this is one of the most profound things we can do for ourselves and our ancestors. So can't emphasize enough how important this process and technique is. So please post your questions in chat. I'll also be getting to them. Now, I did mention that I would share an experience with mine as well. So my father passed away when I was fairly young. I was 14. I think I was 14 or 13. And it was heartbreaking for me, and carried that around for many, many years. And then I met Dr. Pillai, 20 years later or something. And after meeting him and learning about soul genetics, I was like, oh, this is probably why I'm feeling my father or having, kind of these experiences with him, but I didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that was like. I didn't know what it meant. And so then I did this, what's called Tarpanam, or, big major Tarpanam offerings to him, just his soul individually. And it's a separate offering, and it's more expensive because we're using the most specialized priest that we have, who's can communicate directly with the souls, and they're talking to just that one being, one soul. And after that was performed, I literally felt the difference of this weight that I had of my father's kind of presence, but not in a positive way, around me, because he was around me all the time. And before the Tarpanam had happened, I remember just speaking to him like, you got to go. You've got to go. You've got to go up to heaven. Like you can't keep doing this. I love you, but you can't keep doing this. And it wasn't like he was doing anything, ill-willed or malice. He was just around, and he was just an attachment, and it was just around. And I was like, he's got to be released. So I had this conversation with him straight, and then had the ritual performed, and then I felt he was gone. And I was like, oh, but it wasn't like he was gone and I missed him. It was gone and I could feel his blessings now. Now it wasn't this weight. It was like coming, just like a spirit kind of just lurking around. But I could feel his blessings. And I was like, oh my God, this opened up a whole new relationship with my father. I never realized I could have the most beautiful, most loving, most protective, most divine relationship I've had in my entire life. Because prior to that, he's had his troubles. He had addiction problems. It's not like we had like a super, easy relationship while he was in the body. But now I have the most beautiful relationship with my father. I couldn't imagine it better. And then Dr. Pillai, I didn't communicate any of this to Dr. Pillai. And then one day I saw him many years ago when he had a place in New York City. And he said, your father wants to bless you. Put a picture of him in your bedroom. And I was like, yes, like it was all coming together. And so he could see my father, his spirit wanting to bless me, wanting me to, and he wanted me to connect with him more in that way. So I put a picture up, and he's just been the perfect protector and provider to me in this life. And I'm so grateful. He wasn't so good in the body when he was around, but at a soul level, He's really excelling. So if you have struggles with a particular soul that is passed on that you want clearance from, this is the perfect technique to do. Please, I encourage you to do this Tarpanam and to also have it done for you. Now, I couldn't have had the same breakthrough with my father's soul if I had done it myself. That I just know. It was something that was too tightly woven for me. I didn't have that technique. I really needed to have the ritual done for me by these priests who specialize in this. And it was funny because when I went to India, I was able to see the priest who did the ceremony for me. And he said, your father likes non-veg and women. And I was like, yeah, that's the guy. And so, and he made certain offerings to him, and he was able to speak to his soul. And just like Dr. Pillai said, how Einstein had a desire and wanted to be fulfilled, and it wasn't fulfilled. So Dr. Pillai was going to do Tarpanam and speak to his soul and allow him to be released. This priest did the same thing for me. And it's like priceless, right? Like you can't put a price tag on having that type of freedom with a soul in your life, right? So I'm so grateful for Dr. Pillai, the priest that did this in India, for Dr. Pillai bringing this technology to the West and helping us understand like how to do it and what this all means. It's just it's so profound. We wouldn't have normally, as a Westerner, I would not have had access to this type of information. So there's different ways to do Tarpanam with the priests in India. So there's group sessions, which means the priest will pray for many of us all at once during a particular ceremony. So he'll say, me and my ancestors, and then, Lisa and her ancestors, and John and his ancestors, all in the same session. And that happens throughout these 15 days of Mahalaya Paksha and or new moons every month. Or there's individual ones where he's just sitting down with one ceremony with all the types of offerings that get offered to just your ancestors. And you give a list of what those ancestors are. So it's really focusing in on you. Similar to a group fire lab or any group versus individual, anything really. Like if you're in a group, it's more dispersed, it's less costly, and it's not as focused in on you, but you get the benefit. Individually, they're focusing in only on you, and that ceremony is done, a little more detail and attention to just you and your family, your ancestors, I should say. And then there's what I mentioned, which is the Mahatarpanam, which is one ceremony to one soul that is passed that you want to give particularly more attention to and freedom, because maybe they're having some extra hard time. Souls that have extra hard times are souls who have had a tragic life, a tragic death, a sudden death, suicide, overdose, car accident, things that are just, kind of more tragic, more happen fast. The soul doesn't have as much time to adjust or even know what's happening. And so that is the soul that's probably more agitated. So to give you an idea, if you have anyone in your life that you feel like would benefit from the Maha or individualized Tarpanam. So those are the three different types of Tarpanams that we have. And I do want to bring your attention, there's a link below this video that is for the Mahalaya Paksha, 15 days of ancestor offerings that starts on, it's September 30th in India, it's September 29th in the US, and there are many different services. In fact, I might just share my screen and show you. There are many different services that you can participate in. There you go. So here it is. We have 5 days left. So if you're interested, this is definitely where you want to be. And there's lots of great information on this page too that you can read through. What's the significance? And then each moon phase that is starting on September 19th, or sorry, the 29th, has a different significance. So the benefit of this moon, so on the first moon, which is going to be Friday in the US, the 29th, the benefits of doing Tarpanam is to bestow wealth. You're asking the ancestors to give you wealth. The second moon is healthy and good progeny, offspring. Next, the third moon is business prosperity. Next, fourth moon, intelligence and power to overcome enemies, right? So you get the point. So every moon phase in this particular Mahalaya, or 15 days, these moon phases from the first waning moon to the new moon, has its own specialized benefit and quality that is significant for us to be tapping into. Like I said, this is the most powerful time, these 15 days. So you can see each one has its own benefits. We have inner strength, divine blessings, desires for success, unity in the family, good relationships, vehicles, longevity, gains in education, etc. And then we have the new moon, which is the most powerful new moon of the whole year. And you heard Dr. Pillai talk about the moon and why. So this is really the one you do not want to miss if you do anything for Mahalaya. So here's just more information about what's offered. And I'll just go down, like there's feeding of the needy, clothes given to elderly. There's pujas to the cow. And here's the different packages. So this is the biggest package that there is. And if that's out of your price range, then you can just keep scrolling, but you can read through all the different, like it's all 15 moon phases. There's an individual Karpasamy fire lab, individual additional fire ceremonies. So as I mentioned, remember there's individual has a little more impact. Then we have this the next package, the advanced plus package, and all 15 moon phases, feedings, you can add on to that. And here we go is the advanced package, maybe a little more affordable. And this is not all the moon phases, but some of the significant ones. And so you can just go through and see which is best for you. Okay. And as the essential package, we have the food feeding plus the first moon and new moon. And different fire labs. And so post any questions, I'll get to those. This is the one. This is the one that I spoke to you about that I had done for my father. If you want the individual Maha Tarpanam done on the new moon, you can order that here. If you want it on any of the moon phases, that's fine as well. If your ancestor has, passed on recently, there's typically a day after their death that is, significant for them, for that to be done, that day to be performed. But this is the one that if you have one particular soul that really needs attention, this is the one that I did. Okay, so that's all. There's a lot of options here. We won't get into all of them. I really just wanted to give you insight into what's offered and why, how to maybe select your different package. I typically select based on my budget at the time, but what I do is yearlong Tarpanam. And this is so important because if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page that I just reviewed, it says Yearlong Tarpanam, explore details. You click on that, it opens up a whole new page. And I treat Yearlong Tarpanam like a bill that a required bill, kind of like your internet bill or something like that. That is I just factored into my budget. So I pick the middle range of the package so that I know that ceremonies are being done every new moon, significant times throughout the year. One of the packages that I pick has all the Mahalaya offerings within it. So if you have any questions about that, let me know too. But that's like my go-to, because then it's unrecurring. You can pay monthly and you don't ever have to worry about it. It's just being done for you. All right. So let me just quickly, and then I think I see some questions. So I will begin taking a look at those. In the meantime, I want you to see what this year-long page looks like. And I'm just going to bounce down to the packages. This is the advanced package. It's $359 a month or $4,200, which for a whole year, basically getting all of these ceremonies done for you is not a lot of money. It's daily Tarpanam for 321 days of the year. So not every single day, but pretty darn close. You're getting there. So every single day for 4,200. This is the advance. I believe this is the one that I do, 127. I just factor it into my budget. And this is where you're receiving the significant, like all 15 days are done here. The 12, meaning every month, there's offerings on the new moons for you, feedings, cow offerings, chanting, eclipses, which are very important. And then these are done in Rameshwaram as well as in Kerala. So two power spots that are significant and power and useful for Tarpanam. Or you can get the enhanced, which is $90 a month. And we just kind of just remove. So it's not the full 12 days. It's some days during Mahalaya, $72 a month. Again, just removing now. It's just 2 moon phases during Mahalaya. Everything else remains the same. You can also mix and match. If you want to do, your monthly on, the 72, but you want to really go for the Mahalaya packages, then you could pick them both and just get, mix and match whatever works best for you. All right, so now I will get into some questions. Question. By doing it 108 times, do you mean you take the mix in your hand 108 times, pray and rinse? Yes, that is what I do. So it's so powerful. You basically do what I did before, but you pray, you rinse, and you do it again. You pray, you rinse, you do it again. And I count. I was counting like on a little counter because it was easier than a mala, because you can't hold something else in your hand and continue to do this. And I really set it up with I did it at the beach once, which is very, very simple because you're just rinsing it into the water. And I had my little bag of Tarpanam mix, or I did it at home with 2 big bowls. I had a big bowl of water and also a big bowl of offering and a container where I pour it off. So yes. Is it possible to initiate communication with a close relative that has been recently passed and to receive an obvious response, or how may one become receptive? Yes, of course. That may happen by default. You may be feeling them around you. In terms of a technique, I don't have a technique of how you would communicate other than talk to them as if they were here. That's what I would typically do. So if you want to create that connection, you can. Be careful. You don't want to open the portal too much. You don't want to have too much communication from souls from the other side. This is why we do offerings to help them rise up. So I'm not recommending you just start, kind of opening communication to ancestors or people who have passed so that you're receiving their thoughts. You don't want their thoughts. That's the whole idea of Tarpanam. You want them to be raised up into the light, into the heavenly realms, and then receive their blessings, and then receive their communication. So before you start tapping into starting to communicate, first do Tarpanam. First do your offerings. First do your prayer to help them move up into heavenly realms, into the light. I hope that answered your questions. Thank you for that question. It's a good one. Please explain how you rinse the Tarpanam with water. So you just, if it's under, if you're in a body of water, just stick your hand in and it releases. Or if you have just rinse your hand under a faucet, and then maybe have something that catches the seeds in the drain. Be careful because your seeds will sprout in your drain. So you want to be mindful of that. But yeah, just with water. Can you throw the coin away? No, you don't throw the coin away. You keep the coin. So that's a good question. The only thing that gets reused is the coin. So I just keep the coin and my, right now it's just in a little plastic bag, but usually I have something nicer. Keep that together and then reuse the coin, rinse it, and just place it next to it. And then you just replenish your supply of seeds and rice when it gets low. Which is the good among all? If you're meaning which is the best among all of the Mahalaya offerings or Tarpanam offerings that I explained that are done for you, I would personally do the year-long Tarpanam at whatever level that you can afford. So maybe you want to do, like I do the 127 a month, because it includes all of Mahalaya plus all of the main things every month, the main offerings every month. That's my go-to. But if 127 is not inside your budget, maybe you do the lowest version, the essentials, which is 72. And then you also do a package in Mahalaya that includes all of your 15 days. If you're not wanting or able to spend every month for year-long Tarpanam, then I would do the 15 days of Mahalaya, whichever package you can that includes all 15 days. So it's really a budgetary thing. Like, doing more is always better, but it's costly. It costs us money, and we have to, pass that on as the service. So yeah, do what works best for your budget, really. But more is always better when it comes to Tarpanam. I have been doing Tarpanam for the last year, and I see my deceased mother in my dreams. Yeah, that can definitely happen as they're transitioning, and sometimes it takes time. It's not as if, you're doing Tarpanam once for them and they're gone. No, you're making contact and you're helping them. That is why the Maha Tarpanam that I did individually for my father was so impactful, because it really did help him transition fast. Otherwise, I would have been doing Tarpanam for years, and I had already been started doing Tarpanam, and it didn't really budge. He needed a big push. And so that's what that was. So if you're able to do the Maha Tarpanam, I recommend that highly, especially for someone like your mother or your father, someone a child, someone very close to you. That is where you will see the biggest transition and the biggest blessing coming back to you, and that communication channel being a good one, not one that's kind of muddied with their desires or, maybe something that they want or need from you. You're welcome. Thanks for these questions. Wonderful. Any other questions? Anything I missed? What pendant am I wearing? This is a gold Radha or Lakshmi on one side and the Sri Chakra on the other. I got it from Pillai Center many years ago when we were making gold. We can't ship gold, but if you're in India, we can make you one of these. And if you're coming on the India trip, you can have one of these made. You just it has to be a special order. And if you're interested, just write to office@pillaicenter.com. We'll see what we can do. Okay, I think those are all the questions that I see. Can women do Tarpanam during the monthly period? Yes, good question. I had to ask that too. And the answer came back from Dr. Pillai, yes. So if you're on your cycle, we do recommend that you don't light candles, touch statues, do any ritual like pujas or offerings, but you can do Tarpanam. Do you throw away the residue in the, yes, in the bin? So yes, you throw it away. You can put it in the garbage. I've been doing that, just putting it in the garbage. You can also place it outside. Some people like to collect it in a bowl and then just toss it into their yard. That is something you can do as well. If that's not super convenient, like you live in an apartment, then just scraping it, rinsing it off and then putting it in the garbage is just fine. You're welcome. Sorry about that. Got a tickle in my throat. Okay, so there's sorry, a little coughing. So there's a question here. I have an autoimmune disorder. Someone told me it is because of an ancestor. Can I get a solution for the same? Yes. Sorry, I don't have my tea. Having a tickle. So this is a really good question. If there is a medical disorder, sorry. Thank you for bearing with me. This is probably ancestral. Okay, if there is a medical disorder, sometimes it is passed on. Hold on. Sometimes it is passed on from an ancestor. I've seen that, and Dr. Ba has mentioned it several times as well, that he gave the story of a man who basically took on the heart disease of his daughter who passed on. So it's a karmic transfer, and we have to be really careful about that. The solution to it is Tarpanam. So, sorry. Okay. Any other questions? Only in daytime, yes. Oh, I see some more questions. Yes, do Tarpanam daily. And only in daytime, correct. And during the day with your right hand every day. All right. Well, I think that concludes our session.